What if I told you that history books may have left out some of the most shocking secrets about our world? Imagine holding a map drawn centuries ago, before satellites, before airplanes, before even telescopes existed, and realizing it shows coastlines and continents that explorers weren't supposed to discover for hundreds of years. Some of these maps even seem to reveal Antarctica, not covered in ice, but with mountains, rivers, and valleys, exactly where modern technology confirms they should be. How could that be possible? Did ancient civilizations know more than we give them credit for? Were there advanced explorers whose knowledge vanished in time, or is it all an eerie coincidence? In today's journey through history's most mysterious maps, we'll uncover documents that defy logic, challenge our timelines, and force us to ask, what if the world was charted long before Columbus, Magellan, or even Zheng He? Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you might question everything you thought you knew about human history. There are certain moments in history that make you pause and question everything you thought you knew about the past. Among the strangest of these are ancient maps that seem to depict places, coastlines, and features that should have been impossible for their creators to know about. These are not modern forgeries or fantasy drawings, but real cartographic works from centuries ago, drawn long before airplanes, satellites, or even telescopes could give such details. The deeper you look into them, the more unsettling it becomes. Were these maps evidence of lost civilizations, proof of ancient advanced knowledge, or is there another explanation hiding in plain sight? The answers may surprise you. Let us begin with one of the most famous and mysterious maps ever discovered, the Piri Reis Map. Created in 1513 by Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis, this map is said to be compiled from even older source maps, some dating back to the time of Alexander the Great. What makes it so puzzling is not the depiction of South America's east coast, which is fairly accurate for the time, but the inclusion of what appears to be the coastline of Antarctica. The real shock is that the map seems to show Antarctica free of ice, something that has not been the case for thousands of years. How could a map made in the early 1500s contain details about a continent not officially discovered until 1820 and show it without its icy covering? Historians have suggested that the mapmakers might have had access to ancient charts created by an unknown seafaring civilization that explored Antarctica when it was warmer. Others think it might be a coincidence of artistic interpretation, but when you compare the Piri Reis coastline to modern surveys of the continent's bedrock, the match is chillingly close. Another curious example is the Cantino planisphere, created in 1502. At first glance, it looks like a typical early world map, drawn after the Age of Discovery began. But the strange part is how accurately it depicts the Brazilian coastline and parts of the Caribbean before many of those areas were officially charted by European explorers. Even more bizarre, it shows a large landmass in the middle of the Atlantic, similar in size to Madagascar, which does not exist today. Was this a mistake, a mythical Atlantis, or an island that has since disappeared due to tectonic shifts or rising seas? Modern geology confirms that parts of the mid-Atlantic ridge are volcanic and unstable, so it is possible that once there were islands now swallowed by the ocean. The Cantino planisphere stands as a visual reminder that our maps might only be snapshots of a constantly changing Earth. Now, let us turn to the Zeno map, published in 1558 by Niccolò Zeno, which claims to be based on a journey undertaken a century earlier by his ancestors. The Zeno map shows Greenland as multiple islands rather than one massive ice-covered land, suggesting it may have been mapped in a warmer climate phase when ice had receded. It also depicts an archipelago to the west of Scotland, known as Frisland, a landmass that does not exist on modern maps. Some researchers think Frisland was a cartographic error repeated for generations, but others suspect it might have been based on a real island that has since vanished. Interestingly, certain underwater features in the North Atlantic align with where Frisland was drawn, leading some to believe it may have been a victim of sudden submersion. If you think that is strange, consider the Buach map of 1737, created by French geographer Philippe Buach. It shows Antarctica divided into two large landmasses, with a water channel running between them. This is not what you see on modern maps, but radar surveys in the late 20th century revealed that under the ice, Antarctica is indeed split into two main landmasses, with a deep basin between them. The idea that Buash could know this in the 1700s without modern ice-penetrating technology is baffling. He claimed his work was based on ancient maps and geographic knowledge passed down from earlier civilizations. If true, it would mean that someone, thousands of years ago, explored Antarctica extensively enough to record its geography before it was buried in ice. Another enigma is the Vinland map, which surfaced in the 20th century and supposedly dates back to the 15th century. It shows parts of North America labeled as Vinland, matching Norse sagas that describe Viking exploration long before Columbus. While some experts dismissed it as a hoax, others argue that even if the map itself is not authentic, it reflects real knowledge of pre-Columbian transatlantic contact. The Norse were known to have reached Newfoundland, and perhaps they mapped more than we realize. The question is whether their information came solely from their own voyages, or from even older maps they might have inherited. The Daming Hunyi II, a Chinese world map from around 1389, is another artifact that raises eyebrows. It displays Africa with surprising accuracy, including the shape of its southern tip, something European navigators would not confirm for decades. How could Chinese cartographers know this? Some historians suggest that Chinese fleets, such as those led by Admiral Zheng He, might have sailed further than commonly believed. Others speculate that knowledge traveled along ancient trade routes, connecting civilizations far more widely than we think. One of the most haunting mysteries is the Orontius Phineas map from 1531. This map not only shows Antarctica without ice, but also has detailed mountain ranges, rivers, and valleys that align with modern seismic surveys. The accuracy is so high that it appears the cartographer either visited the continent in an ice-free age or had access to records from someone who did. When combined with other ancient maps that depict the same features, it strengthens the case that our understanding of human history is missing crucial chapters. The common thread among all these maps is that they challenge the conventional timeline of exploration. They hint that advanced geographic knowledge existed long before the nations we credit with discovering the world. If these maps were indeed based on ancient sources, then who created those sources? Were they an advanced civilization lost to time, victims of a global cataclysm, or simply skilled navigators whose achievements were forgotten? Imagine for a moment that you are an explorer thousands of years ago, charting coastlines with nothing more than the stars, the sun, and your instincts. To do this on a global scale would require an extraordinary level of skill and coordination, yet these maps suggest that someone, somewhere, had this capability. Could they have been survivors of a lost maritime culture, passing down their charts over generations until they reached the hands of Renaissance cartographers? Or perhaps we are dealing with knowledge exchanged through ancient trade networks stretching from the Mediterranean to the Pacific. Skeptics argue that many of these anomalies can be explained by coincidence, artistic guesswork, or the tendency of mapmakers to copy mistakes from earlier maps. While that may be true in some cases, the sheer accuracy of certain features, such as the subglacial landscapes of Antarctica, pushes coincidence to its breaking point. It is one thing to guess the general shape of a coastline. It is another to match modern geological surveys to within a reasonable margin. There is also the possibility that these maps are telling us about Earth's shifting face. Coastlines change. Ice advances and retreats. Islands rise from volcanic activity and sink from earthquakes. Perhaps what we see as impossible knowledge is simply the recording of a world that looked different from ours. The Piri Reis Map, for instance, may be a snapshot of Antarctica during a warmer epoch, preserved through oral tradition or ancient records. The mystery deepens when we consider how this knowledge might have been lost. Ancient civilizations often suffered catastrophic events, wars, natural disasters, or societal collapse that could have wiped out much of their intellectual heritage. What survived may have been fragments, copied and recopied over centuries, until their original context was forgotten. The fact that we even have these surviving maps is remarkable. How many others might have existed, now lost to decay, fire, or neglect? History is often written by the victors, but perhaps geography is remembered by the survivors. These ancient maps stand as tantalizing evidence that our ancestors knew far more about the world than we give them credit for. They invite us to keep questioning, to keep searching, and to accept that our understanding of the past is always evolving. In the end, Whether these maps are evidence of lost civilizations, ancient explorers, or simply the brilliance of human ingenuity, they serve a vital purpose. They remind us that history is full of mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Every time we think we have the answers, something comes along to shake our certainty. Perhaps the greatest lesson these strange maps offer is that the world is, and always has been, a far more connected, dynamic, and mysterious place than our textbooks suggest. So next time you glance at a world map, remember that you are looking at just one version of reality. Beneath the lines and colors lies a story stretching back centuries, shaped by hands we may never know, guided by minds that saw beyond their horizons. And what do you think? Are these maps simply clever guesses? Or could they be fragments of a forgotten civilization that saw the world long before we did? If the Piri Reis Map truly shows Antarctica without ice, who first charted it? And what about the vanished islands and shifting coastlines errors, or echoes of a lost Earth? I'd love to hear your theories in the comments. Were these maps mistakes, mysteries, or messages from the past? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me on the next journey into history's hidden secrets. In the depths of history, the true map of the world is still waiting to be found.